In the early decades of the 21st century, during a time of insecurity and political tension in southwestern Nigeria, there emerged a powerful Yoruba warrior known as Sunday Igboho. His name was Chief Sunday Adeyemo. He was born toward the closing years of the 20th century. On the night of his birth, the sky turned an unusual blue, wide, deep, and stretched like a warrior's cloth before battle. The wind circled the town of Igboho without bending a single tree. Dogs howled at nothing visible. Elders stepped outside and looked upward in silence. His birth was not sudden. It had been whispered of long before his mother felt the first pain. Diviners had spoken in parables. They said a child would rise, whose voice would travel farther than drums. They said when the land trembled, he would not. They said thunder would one day answer to his footsteps. When he entered the world, he did not cry like other children. He roared. And the elders said, "This one will not live small." Years passed. The forests darkened. Armed bands operating in the bush, widely described in public discourse as violent Fulani militias, struck villages in the night. Homes burned at the edge of darkness. Farmers stepped onto their own land as though walking into graves. Highways fell silent. Travelers vanished between towns. Men spoke of raids in the bush, of gunfire without consequence, of smoke rising from thatched roofs, of attackers who seemed untouchable. The land groaned. Security forces hesitated to enter the deep forests. Hunters fled at the crack of automatic rifles. Markets closed earlier. Mothers prayed longer. Yoruba land felt weakened once again. And then the ancestors stirred. They did not call a king. They did not summon a council. They called a man. From Igboho, he answered. He did not rise with a crown. He rose with fury. When he stood, the wind paused to listen. When he pointed, even the horizon shifted. He gathered men whose courage had been buried beneath grief. Not thousands in number, but thousands in spirit. And he marched toward the forests of Oyo, toward the troubled borders stretching toward Kwara, toward the places where fear had built a throne. He confronted the Fulani jihadists in the bushlands. Thousands discharged at him, but he stood like a mountain before a storm. Bullets seemed to lose direction in the air. Iron forgot its purpose. The earth refused to accept his fall. When he struck the ground, dust rose like a battle cry. When he lifted his hand, thunder answered. When he roared, the echo reached villages before sunrise. The forest that once hid raiders began to betray them. Trees bent backward as he passed. Birds scattered before his shadow touched them. Rivers slowed as if watching. If 1,000 bullets were fired, none found him. Thunder followed his feet. Fire rested in his breath. His name entered the forest before his body did. Communities that once whispered began to speak boldly again. Farmers returned to their lands. Hunters lifted their heads. But power does not tolerate rival thunder. One night, thick as ink, the state arrived. Under the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari, 2015 to 2023. Before dawn broke, security forces surrounded his residence in Ibadan. Trucks rolled like iron beasts. Floodlights tore open the darkness. Gunfire split the sky. History calls it an operation. The epic calls it war. Bullets rained like monsoon. Walls shattered. Windows screamed. The earth trembled beneath the assault. 1,000 operatives, 1,000 flashes of steel, 1,000 rounds tearing through midnight. The night itself seemed to shake. But when the smoke cleared, he was gone. Not fallen, not captured, not broken. Gone, like lightning that refuses the hand, like wind that slips through chains, like fire that chooses its own direction. The federal government declared him wanted. His name echoed through official bulletins. Borders tightened. International pursuit followed. But among many Yoruba communities, his name transformed. Not just a man, a symbol. Some called him reckless, many called him defender, all called him bold. Years passed, power shifted, the era of Muhammadu Buhari faded into history. In 2023, a new presidency rose under Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Where thunder once ruled, negotiation entered. Meetings were held behind doors history cannot fully see. What began as confrontation softened into diplomacy. What was once pursuit transformed into reconsideration. Tension eased. The chapter turned. But memory preserves only this. When fear ruled the forest, one man refused to bow. When violence entered villages, he entered the bush. When the state came like a storm, he answered like lightning. And lightning is never easily captured. This is the story of Chief Sunday Adeyemo. It happened in the year 2021, 1,000 years ago, when insecurity shook the land, and one voice rose loud enough to make both the forest and the state tremble.